Episode 1. Galileo at the Flat Earth Conference, and yet it moves.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Slightly Deceased. We are live from the Flat Earth International Conference here in Texas, and we have with us today the one, the only, the man who dared to say the Earth moves, Galileo Galilei.
Galileo blinking in confusion.
I did not expect such hostility for a mere discussion of astronomy. In my time, people at least pretended to be interested in learning before dismissing you as a heretic.
German Economist adjusting glasses.
Signor Galilei, how do you feel about people who claim your work was a hoax?
I feel that if stupidity were measured in kilometers, this room alone could reach Saturn. No, beyond Saturn, perhaps even beyond the fixed stars themselves, for surely there must be a limit to human ignorance. And yet, I fear we are charting new territory today.
Saturn is fake.
Flat Earther standing up.
Excuse me, sir, but are you even qualified to speak on this? Have you personally been to space?
Galileo raising an eyebrow, deadpan.
Have you?
That's not the point. NASA's been lying to us for decades.
Signor Galilei predates NASA by about 300 years.
Flat Earther narrowing eyes suspiciously.
Convenient.
Galileo, let's break this down. Can you explain in simple terms why the Earth is not flat?
Galileo nodding, inhaling deeply.
Certainly. Observe the motion of celestial bodies, the curvature of the horizon, the manner in which ships disappear as they sail away.
That's fake.
Galileo closing his eyes briefly, taking a deep breath.
I did not even finish my sentence.
That's exactly what the Jesuits want you to think.
Chant begins. Shill, shill, shill. Galileo turning to the tech bro, his voice laced with desperation.
Are they accusing me of working for an organization that does not yet exist?
Time is a construct, man.
German Economist deadpan.
This is a room full of people who believe airline flight paths are an elaborate hoax. Do not expect logic.
Galileo hands gesturing wildly.
So you are telling me that these people trust their own common sense over centuries of meticulous astronomical observations, mathematical proofs, and the entire field of physics?
Exactly.
Galileo visibly struggling to maintain composure, placing his hands on the table.
In that case, I invite you all to jump simultaneously.
Why?
If the Earth were flat, we would feel it move beneath our feet. But alas, nothing would happen. The planet is vast, its mass holds us firm, and...
A loud crash as a man attempts to jump off a chair, lands awkwardly, and immediately declares, "See, no gravity." Galileo gripping the table, voice tense, breathing heavily.
Dio mio, this is worse than the trial. At least the Inquisition had coherent arguments.
All right. Let's take a breath. Let's go back to the basics. Can we agree that things fall down?
Flat Earther smugly crossing arms.
Only because of density, not because of your fake gravity.
German Economist raising an eyebrow.
Then please explain why the planets move in their orbits.
The planets don't move, sir. The sky is just a big spinning dome projected onto the firmament.
Galileo visibly distressed, whispering to himself.
Oh, sweet Copernicus, forgive me for what I must endure. The sky, a dome. Tell me, dear sir, who maintains this dome? And more importantly, why?
Flat Earther smirking.
The government, obviously.
Galileo raising both hands in exasperation.
Ah, yes, of course. The government. That omnipotent, omnipresent force, capable of maintaining an invisible celestial dome for thousands of years, yet unable to efficiently handle the postal service.
At this moment, a man in the audience stands up and shouts.
The moon is a hologram.
A second man stands up and yells.
No, it's an egg.
Chaos ensues.
Galileo, my friend, have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, you were born several centuries too early to handle this level of intellectual curiosity?
Galileo massaging his temples, taking a deep breath.
If I had known this is what awaited me, I would have let the church win.
At least the Inquisition had structure.
All right, let's take a break before Galileo has an existential meltdown. Coming up next, gravity, myth or menace. Stay tuned.
The audience erupts into a chaotic mix of cheers, boos, and someone yelling, "The moon is a hologram." Galileo buries his face in his hands as the tech bro and the German economist exchange amused glances. End of Chapter 1. Galileo versus the conspiracies. Chapter 2. The gravity debate or lack thereof.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we tried and failed to explain why the Earth isn't flat. Now let's tackle something even more controversial: gravity.
Galileo taking a deep breath, gripping the table.
Ah, gravity, the force that shapes the cosmos, dictates the motion of planets, and apparently is up for debate. I spent my life proving the laws of motion, only to be burned at the stake of public ignorance once again.
Flat earther crossing arms smugly.
Gravity doesn't exist. Things fall because they are heavier than air. That's just density, not some magical invisible force.
And yet your hat does not float away. Curious.
That's because the hat is also denser than air.
Galileo raising a finger, leaning forward.
Then, by your logic, why do helium balloons rise?
Flat earther momentarily thrown off.
Because of buoyancy.
Galileo nodding patiently.
But buoyancy is a force caused by gravity. Without gravity, there is no downward pressure to create displacement, and thus no buoyancy. You are disproving your own argument as you speak.
Lies.
Chart starts. Density, density, density. Tech bro grinning, turning to Galileo.
I hope you're enjoying your time in the 21st century, my friend.
I was accused of heresy for suggesting the Earth moves. I was forced to recant my own discoveries under the threat of imprisonment. And yet, this is worse. This is so much worse.
Indeed, at least the Inquisition had rules.
You can't prove gravity is real.
Galileo leaning back, rubbing his temples, then standing up suddenly.
Oh, I cannot? Then let us conduct a scientific experiment.
Galileo grabs a flat earther's can of soda, holds it high above his head, and drops it. It crashes to the floor. Galileo smirking.
There, an object in freefall. Explain that.
Flat earther crossing arms smugly.
It fell because it's heavier than air.
Galileo gritting teeth.
And why did it fall down and not sideways? Not up, not diagonally.
Flat earther growing agitated.
Because it just does.
A wild cheer erupts from the audience. The German economist audibly sighs and scribbles, "Science is doomed," in his notes.
You want proof? Let's settle this right now.
A man in a camouflage baseball cap stands up, walks to the front, and dramatically holds a microphone over his head.
If gravity is real, explain this.
Drops the mic. The microphone falls to the floor. A second of silence. The audience explodes in applause. Flat earther grinning smugly.
See, it fell because it's heavier than air, not because of your made-up gravity.
Galileo blinking in disbelief, rubbing his eyes, then gesturing wildly at the scene.
This is the proof. You drop an object and it falls, and you claim this disproves gravity? My dear sir, that is literally what gravity is.
Flat earther smugly adjusting his hat.
Nah.
German economist deadpan, turning to tech bro.
I must confess, I am losing my will to live.
Galileo, would you like to rebut that highly scientific demonstration?
Galileo head in hand, voice muffled.
My rebuttal is that I pray for a meteor.
The moon is a hologram.
Flat earther pointing at Galileo.
If gravity is real, then why doesn't the moon fall down?
Galileo exasperated, standing up dramatically.
Because it is in orbit. It is constantly falling around the Earth, but its forward momentum keeps it moving. This is fundamental physics.
Nope, it's because the moon is a hologram.
An argument immediately erupts among audience members.
No, the moon is an egg.
Woman in a tinfoil hat.
You're both wrong. The moon is a government surveillance drone.
Galileo slamming hands on the table, standing up and addressing the audience like a frustrated professor.
I am begging you all to pick a single theory.
That's exactly what they want you to think.
Galileo voice cracking, looking at the ceiling in defeat.
Oh, sweet Copernicus, I hope you are in a better place.
Tech bro wiping tears from laughter.
All right. I think that's enough scientific enlightenment for today. Coming up next, flat Earth economics. If the world is flat, how do trade routes work? Why hasn't anyone fallen off the edge? And where exactly is this mysterious ice wall that supposedly keeps the oceans in check?
Galileo staring blankly into the abyss.
I no longer seek knowledge. I seek escape.
The audience cheers as Galileo looks utterly defeated. The German economist sighs deeply and finishes his third glass of water in one gulp. Chapter 3. Flat Earth Economics: The Edge of Reason. If the Earth is flat, how does global trade work? And why has no one fallen off the edge?
All right, everyone, welcome back. Now that we've tackled the mysteries of gravity.
Galileo interrupting, muttering.
You have not tackled them. You have strangled them in their sleep and thrown them off a cliff.
Fair enough. So let's move on to something even more baffling. The economics of a flat Earth. If the Earth were truly flat, why do international trade and global shipping routes work exactly as expected?
German economist raising a skeptical eyebrow.
Indeed, trade is dependent on precise geography. If the Earth were flat, why don't cargo ships report suddenly sailing off the edge?
Simple, there's an ice wall.
Galileo staring blankly.
And ice wall?
Flat Earther nodding enthusiastically.
Yep, Antarctica isn't a continent. It's a 25,000-mile wide ice wall that keeps everything from falling off the edge.
Galileo rubbing his temples, exhaling deeply.
So you are telling me that not only is Antarctica not a landmass, but instead a massive frozen prison for the world's oceans, but also that no one, not a single explorer, not a desperate sailor, not a rogue pirate has ever managed to reach or document this alleged edge.
That's right, because they don't let you near it.
And who, pray tell, are they?
The government, NASA, probably the Freemasons, also Big Penguin.
Galileo blinking, rubbing his eyes as if this will somehow change reality.
I'm sorry, Big Penguin.
Flat Earther whispering conspiratorially.
You ever notice how penguins always look suspicious?
Tech bro gasping, playing along.
Oh my God, you're right. Those tuxedoed little bastards know something.
German economist exasperated.
Gentlemen, let's assume for the sake of argument that this ice wall exists. How exactly does international commerce function?
Cargo ships just sail in circles around the known world. The maps you're using are all fake.
Galileo visibly trying to control his rage, speaking slowly.
If that were true, wouldn't every ship captain in the world have noticed by now? Would they not, at some point, look at their route and say, wait a minute, this is utter madness? Would they not, perhaps, mention this deception to someone?
That's why they're all in on it. Every airline pilot, every sailor, every GPS manufacturer, it's all a cover-up.
Galileo voice rising, throwing his hands in the air.
You are suggesting that every navigator for the past 5 centuries has been secretly conspiring to hide the shape of the Earth. Do you not see the absolute absurdity in that statement? The sheer scale of deception required. The impossibility of keeping so many people quiet.
That's exactly what they want you to think.
I swear on the stars above, I long for the Inquisition.
German economist shaking his head.
Galileo, I advise you not to think too hard about this. Madness lies that way.
The final straw, the edge of the Earth debate. Galileo slamming both hands on the table.
All right, you say there is an edge. Where is it?
No one knows, because no one is allowed to go there.
No one is allowed. Who enforces this?
The UN, the global elite, and probably Jeff Bezos.
Galileo utterly exhausted, massaging his temples.
So let me be clear. In your version of reality, there is a vast, guarded, frozen perimeter, stretching thousands of miles, and yet no one has leaked a single photo. No rogue adventurer, no daring escapee, no whistleblower?
Oh, they have, but the government deletes them.
Galileo eyes twitching, standing abruptly.
I will not do this anymore. I cannot. If I remain in this room a moment longer, I fear my brain will fold in on itself like a dying star.
And that concludes today's journey off the intellectual cliff. Next week on Slightly Deceased Podcast, we deep fry democracy with none other than Abraham Lincoln, live from a McDonald's in Compton, as he battles inflation, drive-through diplomacy, and decides whether fries are more important than freedom.
Spoiler, the fries win.
Tell him to bring a blindfold. It helps.